you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Moore
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. It is Friday, usually an on-campus Friday here in the Eye Test, but today we're bouncing all over the place, Pierre. We're going to talk some World Juniors, some NHL, as NHL hockey gets back underway tonight with an almost full slate of games. And you know what, Pierre? Let's get into the NHL first. I know we got a game going on right now. Finland and Germany are going on, and Slovakia just beat
Switzerland.
Switzerland, yes, Switzerland, and Germany and Finland are going on right now. But we'll get back to World Juniors in a second. Pierre, you and I earlier today were kind of breaking down the Detroit Red Wings after they made their coaching change yesterday and hired Todd McLellan and kind of looking at their lineup going forward. And, you know, wondering, okay, if this coaching change, and it's going to be a monumental task for McLellan to get them into the playoffs and where they sit in the standings. If he's unable to do that, what are some of the changes that, you know, Detroit might make? What positions they looking to strengthen? Where are their strengths right now? Not just at the NHL level, also with what's coming in terms of prospects. And, you know, they have a lot coming. They have a wealth of prospects coming. But as we both agreed, they might have to use them potentially to strengthen maybe the center position, eh?
Are you trying to be Canadian?
No, it's you're rubbing off on me.
Oh, yeah.
Adopted Canadian, you know that.
Center would be a place. The one thing I'd say, though, you know, obviously Dylan Larkin's such a good player for them, and I think with Kopp there and Comfer there, they're a lot of the same guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, with Dylan, what do you do with Dylan long term? He's such a good player. What do you do with Kopp? What do you do with Comfer? I mean, so I think it's a position they can look at. But you said something that was really good, Jimmy, and I really agree with you. Their prospect depth is fantastic. It's far better than what they're getting credit for. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know a lot of these kids are real good players over in Europe. I mean, Emil Viro is a really good defenseman out of Finland, and he's a lot bigger than when they drafted him. He's closer to 6.5 feet now, about 190 pounds. He's a good player. William Wallinder is a really big physical defenseman. He's another guy coming along. Trey Augustine, who's playing for USA in goal, who's at Michigan State, the number one team in the country. He's a really good prospect. I mean, they got 8 legitimate, and I haven't even talked about Axel Pellica, you know what I mean? I just haven't even talked about him yet. So you start looking at their prospect pool, it's really good. Now the problem is prospects are only good once they get to the NHL and play. Mm-hmm. Edmonton's tried this movie for a long time. It hadn't worked.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but your point about their prospects is excellent, and I agree with you. In the center ice position, a lot of the same once you get past Dylan Larkin. Right. So I don't know what direction they go. They're really good in goal, though, Jimmy. Sebastian Cross is a really good player, and Trey Augustine's a really good player. Carter Guylander's a legitimate prospect. They've got goaltending depth, Jimmy, that a lot of people don't really talk about. And you know, what I did, again, to be transparent with our viewers, I showed Jimmy today Koss's numbers in the American Hockey League, and they're really good. They're not a little bit good. They're really good. Mm-hmm. And so you start doing that, and their team's first place in their division right now in Grand Rapids. So they've got stuff. I know everybody wants to go after Steve Eisman. I get it. It's fair game. He gets paid. He knows he's a big boy. He knows what the pressure's like. 2010 was as much pressure as you could ever have as a GM in anything. And he was a general manager at Team Canada at the Olympics, and he was he was fantastic. And he was not bothered at all by that pressure. Not at all. So this isn't going to bother him either. Now, they've had 8 straight years of no playoffs. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, the Ilitch family are very well-to-do, but they also know that every year you're not in the playoffs, you're losing a whack of money.
Exactly. You know what? They had to be happy that the Tigers had a kind of a surprise year and made the playoffs last year because that wasn't planned. So at least that helped a bit. But going back to something you said there, too, about, you know, prospects are only as good as they are when they get to the NHL, and then we really see. How do you prevent yourself, Pierre, when you're a hockey ops department, especially in the amateur scouting department, from not falling too in love with your prospects. And obviously you can be excited about them, and obviously you can be proud that you drafted them and you got them into the system. But at the same time, how do you not fall too in love where maybe there's one or two or three guys that, maybe along the way could have got you a veteran at the NHL level in a trade?
So that's a great question. So I'll give you the Bowman answer.
Okay.
Prospects are like racehorses and ex-wives. All they do is cost you money. So never fall in love with them.
It's true.
Okay,
it's
that's a Montreal Canadianism that was passed on to me by the great William Scott Bowman.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the key to being a good manager, is making sure your scouts are proud of the guys they draft, but they don't fall in love. There's a guy that's an agent who's a very good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And his favorite thing is say, I love that guy, and I love that guy. And I let him do it for a few times. And then I said, did you ever get burned by those ones you fell in love with? And he goes, oh, yeah, more than I think. And so I told him the Bowman story.
Awesome.
He started laughing.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Because you get guys and you get excited about them. You see them succeeding at the levels below the NHL. But at the same time, you have to stay objective, stay right down the middle and always look at everything, look at the big picture. And your depth where, different positions, like we're talking about, maybe they could use another veteran center, maybe, or different type of center, so to speak. Yeah, different type of center. So it's going to be interesting to see, this is down the line, but they got a tough month, as you pointed out to me this morning, coming up on their schedule, Pierre. I mean, let's just go over that schedule coming up.
Jimmy, I'm going to tell you right now. So they're home versus Toronto tonight. Then they're home versus Washington, not a shrinking violet. Then they're home versus Pittsburgh. Then it gets fun for them. They're at Columbus, which is not an easy out anywhere. Ask anybody. Going to Columbus is not fun. Then they're at Winnipeg. Then they're home to Ottawa. Then they're home to Chicago. Then they're home to Seattle. Then they're home to San Jose. And that's when the easy stuff ends. Yeah. At Florida, at Tampa, at Dallas, at Philly, home versus Montreal that just swept them in a back-to-back, home versus Tampa, home versus Los Angeles, or at Edmonton. Like, Jimmy, they got they got 2 games, maybe 3, where you can say they're the favorite.
Mm-hmm. And that's it.
And that's it.
And as they enter game action again tonight, Pierre, they're sitting at 13, 17, and 4 with 30 points. And they're 8 points out of the final wild card spot there. And, we were looking at some of the teams ahead of them. I mean, the Rangers are one of those teams that they're just 3 points ahead of them right now, but you got to figure sooner or later that team. And we've
one way or the other. Something's happened there one way or the other.
Yeah, something's going to happen one way or the other. Either they're going to make a move and they're going to make a jump up the standings and start to realize their potential, or they'll go the other way. We don't know. But
so we talked about this, and I'm proud of you for this. We talked about when Detroit got swept by Montreal in their back-and-back, home and home, and then they got beat by St. Louis 4-0. Mm-hmm. We said, look, we're not saying the coach is getting fired. All we're saying is something's going to happen there.
Right.
Between now and when they start playing again, something's happening.
Yep.
Whether they're calling a whack of guys up, whether they're putting some guys on waivers, whether they're going to fire the coach. We're not on the eye test. We're not fans of firing anybody. We don't want anybody getting fired.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been fired enough for everybody. I don't need everybody else getting fired.
Yeah. So specifically coaches too. I mean,
I'm talking about from the coach. I'm talking about from the coaches thing. And sometimes they're really dirty deals. They're just really dirty deals. And you don't say anything about it because you know what? You just man up and shut your mouth and take it. You take your medicine and you move on.
Yeah.
But here's what we said it, Jimmy. So I'm not trying to say, we were mean to anybody, but we did say something was going to happen in Detroit. Yeah. And they did. So here's what's going to happen, I think, in Detroit. They're going to totally try to change how they play. They're going to play probably a 1-3-1 in the neutral zone. Todd McLellan teaches that all the time. They're really going to look for internal development with their defensemen in particular. Simon Edvinsson and Moritz Seider would be 2 for sure that I'd look that they're going to spend a lot of time trying to make better. trying to make, because one of the things that I gleaned out of, and Jimmy was great today, by the way. He sent me the Eisenman press conference because I don't do the social media stuff. So Jimmy, thank you for that. And so I was watching it, and one of the things I got out of that, and I don't know how much has been written about it, Jimmy, but they're not happy with the internal development of their players. And we've talked about a lot on this show. One of the things that's happened in the NHL because of the cap, if you're not making kids better at the NHL level over the course of a year, your chances of getting better as a group aren't very good. It used to be you used to send those kids for 2 to 3 years in the American League. Now you can't. You need the cheap labor if you're going to keep star players. And I think they got upset, upper management there, with the development of their young guys.
That's a great segue, because I was one of my next questions to you, Pierre, was going to be, when you look at that roster, what you know of a lot of these young players on that roster, or some of them coming, how many of them do you see fitting in with the coaching philosophies of Todd McLellan versus how they may have fit in with Lalonde? Are they going to start to really identify? Okay, and by the way, I haven't heard the exact years, but it was a multi-year deal that he got. So obviously, they believe in his philosophies, and that's how they want to develop these young kids, is under that philosophy. So I'm wondering, if you're looking at how closely are they going to be looking at these guys to see if they take to what he's preaching?
Right away, I think. 1-3-1 is easy to teach. I was with DJ Smith and the late Bob Jones and Davis Payne and Jack Capuano in Ottawa, and we got a week of canceled hockey games in Alberta. So we created a mini training camp, and we instituted a 1-3-1. I was just there giving feedback one way or the other. And we ran Alberta that trip. We beat Calgary and they were good, and we beat Edmonton and Edmonton. And that was when Calgary had the late Johnny Gaudreau. They had Elias Lindholm, and they had Matthew Tkachuk, arguably, I think, the best line in the league that year. The other guys had Draisaitl and McDavid running around all over the place with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. So we instituted the 1-3-1. We were able to do it in a week with a team that, on paper, probably not as good as what Detroit has. And I think Todd can do it because he's been teaching it for a long time. So I think, Jimmy, that's something to watch for there. I think I wouldn't be surprised. That's something to watch for with the institution of a new type of neutral zone that they'll play. They're going to try to force a lot of turnovers, I think, and be a quick counter team. That's what I think. It'll be a lot like what LA was like when Todd was there. That's kind of what I'm envisioning.
Is that you told me about? You told that story before, and I don't know if you told it on the air here, but that when you guys got stuck out there and you basically said, look, we can go to work or we can kick back and have a good time. It's up to you guys. And you chose the former, and it worked. Well,
DJ was great. I can't say enough about DJ Smith. He was great to work with. I can tell you that right now. And so was the late Bob Jones, who passed away from ALS, and Jack Capuano, who's working in Minnesota right now, and Davis, who's working in Winnipeg. They were awesome to work with. Awesome. They were great people. And we talked one night, and, hey, we got to insulate our defense. We got a lot of guys hurt, and we're young. We're not really ready. Sanderson wasn't there. Clevin wasn't there. So, we're able to do it. So that's kind of where that came from. So you're spot on. You couldn't be more right.
I thought I remembered that. Hey, switching gears to different teams, when we were looking kind of at the bunch there in the wild card mix, and, one of the other teams that, we credited them yesterday and going into the break is the Ottawa Senators have been playing much better. But all of a sudden, the injury bug is hitting them hard, and Linus Ullmark is not going on that trip right now to start out of the Christmas break. And, you look at their schedule going forward, Pierre, it's not too nice either. And, things could go the other way here. They're going to have to really tighten up and compensate for Ullmark not being there because, let's call a spade a spade. He's one of the reasons maybe the major reason they were able to turn that season around.
Well, I think he's been really good, Jimmy. I agree with you on that. But you also want to say, I think Travis Green has done a nice job. They're playing more straight line hockey, Jimmy. They used to go a lot of cross ice stuff. Now they're going more in straight lines. I think Tommy Shabbat, we talked about him the other day. Tommy's elevated his game. I'm so happy for him. He's really a gentleman. He's a nice man. He's a real professional guy. He wants to do well. He wants to be part of the solution, not part of the problem there. And I respect guys like that. So he's taken a step forward. He's more conscientious defensively than maybe he used to be, which is a good thing for him. But if you were to ask me what's the one thing, Stützle's a star. Norris is an undervalued star. Pinto, like the slotting, we talked about Detroit, they're all different. Stützle's flash and speed and dogged determination. Norris just so slick. And Norris is vastly underrated defensively. And he's an elite one-time shooter on the left side of the ice. Pinto is just a hard-in-your-face, grind-it-out kind of guy who's got skill, way more skill than people think. So they're all different. So, that – and Zach Ostapchuk, we haven't even talked about him yet.
Yeah.
That kid's special. If you ever want to see a kid that in junior, Rempe's got this big attitude for being a real tough kid. Go watch a tape of Rempe fighting Zach Ostapchuk.
Oh, yeah, I remember what you showed me that. That's right.
Go watch that.
Yeah, that didn't go too well.
No, it didn't go well for Rempe. Even though I'll tell you what, he's a tough kid too.
Yeah,
he is a tough kid. He is. But anyway, so Ottawa, you talk about them. They've got a lot more to choose from, which is good. All those kids are starting to come. The patience is now paying off, I guess, is what the bottom line is.
But it's a tough road ahead.
The schedule now with all those injuries you talked about and not having Artem Zub. No, if they get through this and they're still in a wild card position, I will say right now on the record, they got to get through this part of the schedule because the reason why they're on the road, and I think most of the people in Ottawa know, and we get a lot of Ottawa viewers, but just for other people that are outside that market, they're on the road because of the World Junior.
Of course.
And so I think it's a 9-game road trip if I remember, but it started before the break. But it's not against softies. They're playing hard. They're playing the iron of the league. They're not playing softies.
And you pointed out there's a big one. I believe it's the 17th, maybe in Boston, a matinee, 3 p.m. game. That's a huge game for both teams.
That's going to be big, especially if Ottawa can keep playing the way they are. You made a good point about Boston. I mean, nobody knows their team better than you, except for maybe Donnie Sweeney, honestly. and no, I mean that as a compliment. But I know how passionate you are for studying them. But Jimmy, my concern with them is, are they going to have enough firepower? It's a question. I'm not making a statement. Are they going to have enough firepower if anybody gets hurt? Are they going to have enough, Jimmy? I don't know. I just don't know.
Speaking of, by the way, David Pastrnak is going to be in the lineup today, so he appears to be okay. I kind of figured maybe that was a precautionary move by the coaching staff. They're heading into the break. Just let him get out. Why chance it against Washington on Monday? So he'll be back in. But yeah, what if he wasn't? What if he didn't come back and he ended up out, or maybe
that's what I mean.
Exactly,
I don't know.
maybe something nagging that comes back. They need to look at potentially making a move, I think, for another winger, for sure. And I'm interested too, Pierre, now you brought up the Bruins here. It's been very hush-hush on the timetable for Hampus Lindholm. And that's a key part of that lineup going forward. I know they've done pretty well, obviously, since Zach came in, but they still miss him, and they're going to need him. If they make the playoffs, they're going to need him for sure because he can eat up minutes and he can do so much for them. So they're another team to watch as you go through this month. Pierre, I look at this month, right? And maybe let's just extend it to the Four Nations when that begins in mid-February. By the time the Four Nations arrives, I think we're going to have some teams that are already solidified as sellers heading into the deadline for sure. Maybe even before.
But I'm blaming you for all this. It's all on you.
I know.
Because of the Four Nations stuff.
I know.
I'm blaming you for all this stuff.
You know what, Pierre? We're going to get to talk about who those sellers might be by that time.
Just so everybody understands, this crazy schedule, I already gave him a hard time today, jokingly, obviously, about why the schedule is so hellacious for all these teams.
Yeah.
Now, for a team like Ottawa, it's because of the World Junior. So we get that. That happens, okay? Yeah. But these other teams, Jimmy, come on.
I know.
Look at their December, or not just December, look at their January schedules. Yep. We were going, so we played this little game today, Jimmy and I was doing it with them.
And all the home and homes too,
the home and homes, all the, and you're like, well, why would that be and I'm like, it's a little gift from the league.
Rivalries.
So I said to Jimmy, that's a little gift from the league to make sure they're sold out at the holiday season. That's just a little gift because that's not we don't have to say the teams, Jimmy.
Yep.
That's a little gift from
Exactly.
the league scheduling, saying, you know what, at the holiday season, we want you to have a full building. And that's why you're doing that.
There's like,
'cause there's some strange home and home.
yeah, there's some strange ones. One of them might be the one that I'll be focusing on tonight. But, Pierre, though, we are going to be able to talk about all those teams that might be out of it and in it and who will be sellers and buyers. We'll be able to begin that in earnest in person at the Four Nations in Montreal. We will be at McLean's Public House at 1320 on Peel Street. That's Upper Peel Street, not the old McLean's. This is the new one. Just opened up in 2023. It's still looking brand new. It's beautiful. Really good feel as if you're over in. It's no Harp in Belfast, but it gives you that feel. You've got that ambiance that you're over on the in Ireland and the motherland there. So you'll enjoy it, Pierre. I can't wait to be there with you. We're booking some guests now. We got one. I can't really announce it yet, but
no, don't.
It's looking very good. It's a big one. So we're gonna have some big guests there, and then the following week, we're happy again. We've told you before, but for those who haven't heard, we will be at West End Johnny's on Portland Street across from TD Garden for the Boston games at the Four Nations as well. And even before that, we're going to be at the Beanpot, Pierre, the first 2 Mondays in February. You and I, we talk about, the busy January the teams are having. You and I are going to be busy bees. I mean, you're already busy going to all the different Northeastern games all over the place. February is going to be very interesting. I was looking at it. They're the second game. The second game of the championship game. So we'll do that. We'll cover the game, and then the next day, back up to Montreal. There we go. So it's
make sure you have your passport. I'm not waiting for you at the customs.
We'll be driving.
Jimmy, you told me this was breaking news last week. It was your call. You did a good job. West End Johnny's is also the home during the Beanpot for Northeastern University's alumni and parents and fans.
Yep.
So stop by.
Yeah. Come on by, wear your red, black, and white, and bring those unis over, wear those jerseys. And you know what else I found out? I was talking to Jimmy Caron, who owns it, and they also have a place over at Fenway, West End Johnny's at Fenway. And so, Pierre, they're also the home bar. That one over at Fenway is a home bar for UConn sports and all the UConn alumni in the Boston area.
That's
so
awesome.
Tomorrow, UConn's playing in that Fenway Bowl or whatever they call it. The bowl game there, they're playing, I believe, North Carolina. So he told me though, right? So his place is pretty big. Like he said, he can probably fit in about 700 people. But the guy said, we got about 2,000 people coming. I didn't realize there'd be that many UConn alumni around there, but it makes sense. It's not that far.
That's good. It's an easy drive. And their hockey team's out in Wisconsin. Their hockey team's playing the tournament out in Wisconsin. Right. So I met Coach Cav and I were sending on campus Friday, kind of. So I was texting with Coach Kavanaugh. So he's out in Wisconsin with his team, getting ready to play in a big tournament out there. So
By the way, I was texting with Coach Carvel. Wished him a Merry Christmas the other day.
No, you were praising him on his recruiting.
I haven't done that yet. I'm going to do it right after this episode.
Oh, God.
Lutsenko's looking good there for Slovakia. He's been one of their best players, if not the best.
What about his goalie, Rabel, the other day?
I know.
I
jinxed myself, though. I ended up, that I had that under in that game, and it was 6. It ended up right on the 6. So you don't win, you don't lose. It was a push. But that was a good defensive game, though, like we thought, Pierre.
But can I just say this to the viewers? I've never seen a guy more passionate about UMass hockey. He said, what about this guy? What about that guy? What about? And I'm like, what about him? I'm watching the same game you are. I just want to play for Coach Carvel. I'm like, yeah, don't worry. I'm aware.
Pierre, on that note, it was funny. So, I'll tell the listeners, my daughter and I, Maddie and I, will be coming to the Northeastern UMass game.
Yeah.
We'll be there on January 10th. So Maddie says to me before she left for North Carolina, she's down there for the week, and she's all excited about it. It's going to be her first college hockey game. But she says, Daddy, but we're going to be with the Northeastern people. They're going to let you sit with him? I have a feeling he's going to put you on the other side of the arena.
No, you'll be fine.
I'll keep it up. Don't worry. I'll be neutral.
I'm not worried about anything. You're good. Now that we're talking about good young stuff, whether it's college, whether it's pro, how about Matthew Schaefer for Canada? and Gavin McKenna for Canada. So when did we start talking about McKenna? Over a year ago, right around now?
Yep.
So this is for the people that are writing for the IIHF website.
Jeez.
If you're going to write something about a kid that's going first overall and you actually have the ability to push delete when you're writing, don't put it out there that he plays for Regina. He plays for Medicine Hat, one of the elite franchises in the Western Hockey League. Not that Regina's not, but they're struggling this year. Medicine Hat's in first place.
Yep.
I'm sorry to be a nitpicker, but that bugs me.
No, what did I say to you as a writer? And I'm not just going to
You said to me, don't they have editors anymore? That's what you said.
Right? It's incredible. It's like they just let, and a lot of, as we know in our business, a lot of these staffs keep getting younger and younger because it's cheap labor and they, it is what it is. And they just get them right out of college. But all the more reason for an editor. They're still learning on the job. Like, help them out, guide them.
This kid, what is it? We
wasn't for
talked
people
right
like
for the first show.
I wouldn't have made it, you have to have a mentor like
Mentor. So Gavin McKenna's a real deal. He's number 9 for Canada.
What did I say to you when I texted you about Schaefer? Because this is my first time watching him up close.
He could go number 1. Jimmy asked, could he go number 1? The answer is yes, he could.
Yep.
Yes, he could. Not a lot of D-men out there at 17 years of age that can play like he does. And that's a cauldron. That's a bubbling cauldron of animosity. When you play in Canada for Canada in a building like Ottawa, that's a hard place. Whether you're the home team or the visiting team, it's pressure packed. It's hard.
Yeah.
And I that kid's special. I'm not prepared to go the Pronger comparison. I'm not prepared to do that because they're different. But there's a couple similarities, and one of them is, and this was Christopher Pronger's elite thing that he did better than anybody else because he never got enough credit early on, ability to move the puck. He was, and you look at the assists he has. I'm talking about Schaefer now on the McKenna goal. That's a Pronger play.
Yep.
That is a total Pronger play.
I can ask, so obviously, Pierre, both him and Hagens, two guys.
Hagens is really good. Had a great day yesterday.
So they go into this tournament. They obviously know the spotlight's on them. They know how this can, I don't know if sway completely is a little too strong, but it's gonna have some weight on decisions for teams when it comes time to draft, and they're gonna look back at this and how they did in, as you just said, a pressure cooker situation. When you're those players, right? Or maybe you're their coach. How do you get through knowing the extra weight that this carries right now?
Don't even talk about the draft.
Yep.
Talking about the team, talking about the game we're going to play, the process of winning. The number one thing in this tournament, I've been around a long time, if your team's not making progress every day, and that could be rest rehab, that could be practice, that could be making your power play better, it could be film study, it could be changing your line. Something has to happen every day where you get better in this tournament. And if you do, chances are you'll get to the gold medal game. And then when you get there, anything could happen. But you want to get there. You don't want to play in that second game that day. You want to play in the big game. And so the only way you get there is get better every day. And Dave Cameron, who I can tell you is a good hockey man, very good hockey man. He's been at this a long time. He's coaches the Ottawa 67s. He knows the community. He was an assistant coach in 2009, the last time the tournament was in Ottawa. Pat Quinn was the head coach. Guy Boucher was the assistant coach. Dave learned a lot from those guys, and it's carried forward. And Dave just keeps getting better. And so I think whether you're coaching David Carl, who won the gold medal last year, and you're coaching USA, or you're Dave Cameron, you're going to be okay, and your kids will be okay. You don't have to talk about the draft. The kids know. Don't even talk about the draft. And
just to go further on what you just said there, and how you have to get better every day. And I know you've told me that plenty of times before too. I'm watching. I think it was the Sweden game yesterday, and they're way up late in the game. It's I think it was like 5-2 at the time, and they've got their power play out there. Late, and Granato and Tony, credit to Granato. He immediately, before the other announcer could even say it, or fans are going to maybe go on Twitter and say it, why are they putting it out there? That's rubbing it in. He said, look, for those out there right now, he goes, for those thinking that they're trying to rub it in, that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to improve that power play because it's a late opportunity to get those guys back out there and continue to gel. And I thought that was it made me think exactly of what you just said, Pierre.
Yeah, that's part of it. The other part is too, the tiebreaker is goal differential.
There you go.
So you gotta, I've fought for years when I was doing the tournament with Gord Miller, my partner at the time, to get that out because there were some unmerciful beatings.
There were.
I mean, I saw some bad ones.
Yeah.
Like really bad. So I'll tell you, I'm not going to tell you the country. I'm just going to tell you at the time there was a country playing at a World Junior, and I'm not going to say the country. The coach came to see Gord and I and asked us if we could go to the Canadian trainers to get tape for their players because they were running out of tape.
Wow.
And these guys were about to play Canada.
Wow.
And, eventually the Canadian trainers were amazing gentlemen, like really good people. And so was Hockey Canada. And they got taped to these guys. And, I don't even want to tell you what the score was, but it wasn't pretty.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Sweden, by the way, too, they're playing Kazakhstan in the next game. That's a type of game that might get out of hand like that, but we'll see. And then, of course, the final game is Latvia and Canada. Right now, by the way, 1-0 Finland over Germany. Pierre, what did you think of Finland in that game? I know they didn't win, but
I thought they were good. The Finns always give everything they have. They're a hard team to play against physically. They matched up physically.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Really good. Well, that's what they always are like.
Yep.
I remember – this is a good story. I remember doing a bronze medal game, Finland, and I'm going to say Russia in Helsinki. And I remember the morning skate for the Finns was vicious. Like this coach was drilling them back and forth. It was like Herb Brooks was running the skate. It was unbelievable. And Sammy Lepisto, who played in the NHL for a long time, I think he was the alternate or the captain of that team. We're going back into the early 2000s. And I knew Sammy, and I said, "Hey, Sammy, like, what was that?" He goes, "That's a typical morning skate in Finland." I go, "Not the one I've seen." I said, "Not like that."
Well, by the way, Finland and Russia are not friendly neighbors. By the way, they do not like each other.
I said to Gordon Miller, "There's no way the Finns can win this game. Like they're gonna have no juice left. It's an early start too." They won the bronze.
Wow.
They won. So it just showed it's all about mental, physical toughness, coaches that know their players. It was pretty amazing. It really was. I learned so much being around that tournament about different methods and different preparation process and all. It was really good. Really good.
Good topic there too. And a side question here, and then we're going to get to our wonderful sponsor Betway and then the Q&A. How much do coaches still study different countries and philosophies?
They should be doing it a lot.
So, I have a feeling they don't do it enough, but
I think some do. Some do. Bowman studied Tarasov a lot.
I had a feeling
Bowman studied Tarasov a lot.
Right?
He did. So did Fred Shiro. Fred Shiro did. So I just through osmosis, because I knew both men particularly well, I was fortunate enough to learn. When I played professionally in Europe, played for a coach who was heavily influenced by, it was called Czechoslovakia back then. It wasn't Czechia, which it is now. And he was heavily influenced by that program. So I learned a lot just as a player, learning how to do that stuff. So, yeah, I think you learn a lot from it. I know a lot of people that our way is the best way or this way. No, they're all, you gotta work all every day. Jimmy, I told you this a long time ago, and I'll keep telling you till the day I die. Bob Johnson used to tell me every day, learn something new at the rink. Learn something new about hockey every day you go to the rink. And every day I go, I always look to learn something new.
I know you do. I loved it when we were watching those practices in Belfast together, Pierre. And the other thing too, obviously when you do study other countries like that, you're looking at the systems. But I would think too, it helps when you're getting players from other countries because you understand what they're coming from and what they're used to.
Really good point.
That's going to be a good advantage to have.
That's a really good point by you, and that's 100% true. Like when I was coaching the NHL, I know I told you this. Yarmer didn't speak great English. He just didn't. And Craig Patrick was wise enough from all his international experience that we got to get a guy in here that can help Yarmer with translation. So they brought in Yuri Herdina, one of the most iconic Czech-born players of all time. And he comes in, and he's like a third and fourth line player for us. And we have no more Yarmir problems.
There you go.
You know, and it just shows you just learn something new every day.
Yep.
So your point was perfect. Perfect.
All right. And quickly, before we get to Betway, too, there was a contract extension today, Pierre. The Colorado Avalanche locked up Mackenzie Blackwood. Yep. 5-year extension, $26.25 million. Pierre, look, I'm not sure I've seen enough from him to justify that, but at the same time, given what Colorado's been through goalie-wise, they must see something there that says, you know what, this is the guy that's going to fit in well with what we do here, and this is he's what we've been missing, because I don't think they're doing that if they don't have that feeling right now.
I think it's a great point, and I'll also throw another name out there. Craig Billington is a guy that works there. So he knows. Billington started in Jersey. He moved out. He ended up really formulating an amazing career for himself in hockey. And so I think he has a big voice when it comes to the goalies out in Colorado. Big voice.
And speaking of goalies, Cayden Primeau is going to go on waivers tomorrow. He's not on waivers yet, but Marty St. Louis, poor Eric Engels from Sportsnet, saying that we will put him on waivers tomorrow. You had to think that when they called up Dobies today.
Yeah, when Dobies gets called up today, I'm like, okay. And it's not going to be I'd be shocked. If it would have been a year ago,
he would have got
him. Philadelphia would have taken him, especially after the Carter Hart stuff.
Yeah,
I think it's totally different.
He clears. Yep, I think he clears. And they knew. We talked about this. Was it 2 weeks ago? Yep.
Everybody's like, "What are they doing with Primeau?" I said, "Realize there's nothing. They don't have to worry about Primeau. He can just sit on the bench. Let Montembeault play. Jacob Fowler's going to be the guy here. It's just when's he going to be ready? Jacob Fowler's going to be the guy in Montreal. That's just how it's going to be."
Exactly. So we should see going forward. Listen, we want to tell you about our wonderful sponsor, Betway. Go all the way with Betway right now and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. You can scan that QR code right in front of you there if you're watching right now, or go to the website, click the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers right now. Terms and conditions apply. It is not available in Ontario. Remember, you must be 18 plus. You must play responsibly. All right, let's go to our sick pick of the day.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
All right, I've got 4 games I'm looking at today. All separate, no parlays, but we're back at it with a lot of games, so I figured I'd give you 4. Looking at the Columbus Blue Jackets hosting the Boston Bruins tonight, and then they'll play the tail end of that home and home in Boston tomorrow night. In this game tonight, I like the under 6.5. Eunice Korpisalo, who's been really solid for the Bruins, will get the start against his old team. I see him having a good game. So give me, and as Pierre was just saying, the Bruins don't score much. Columbus doesn't score much. I was surprised it was set so high at 6.5. Take that under. The Wings getting the coach bump, in my opinion, tonight. They will be a good pick on the money line against the Toronto Maple Leafs, who, by the way, remain without Austin Matthews. He is out tonight and then out against the Capitals as well. Pierre, should we start to be worried a bit about this?
No, I'm not. I still am bullish. I don't like the people panicking in Toronto. This is for all those Toronto panickers. Like, they're going to be life and death to make it as a wild card team. Can you calm down?
Yeah. And first of all, the first stint without him, they played unreal. So
just everybody's got to calm down here.
All right. And then next game I'm looking at is the Sabres are hosting the Chicago Blackhawks. I think they make it 2 in a row on the puck line. Give me the Buffalo Sabres. And then here's my big underdog of the night, Pierre. You're going to laugh at me, but I just got a gut feeling and I'm going with it. The San Jose Sharks upset the Vegas Golden Knights. Give me the Sharks, a money line of plus 280 right now. Again, I'm probably nuts, which we probably know I am, but you get those gut feelings. I like Macklin Celebrini to come out and help pull off a big upset for the Sharks.
It's one of the dirtiest little secrets in the NHL, the rivalry between San Jose and Vegas.
Yep.
And it goes back to playoffs. It goes back to stealing other guys' coaches.
Real.
There's way more bad blood. I did a lot of those games. There's way more bad blood out there than people know, unless they're right in it every day. You never know with that one. I'm not going to laugh at you on that one. Not going to laugh at you with that one. No, I'm not.
Home game, Friday night. You get the holiday crowd. Who knows?
Big crowd. Be a big crowd in San Jose. And congrats to Eric Engels for getting that scoop on Primeau. Mm-hmm. And I hope everything works out for Primeau because he's an honorable kid. His dad is a real good person. His dad was a very good player before concussions got to him. And I hope everything works out for him. I really do.
And by the way, I forgot to say it yesterday, so my apologies, but belated happy birthday, Pierre, to our good friend who's been on this podcast, Mr. Stu Hackle. Just celebrated another birthday, and I know he's old. Was he like 56?
He's gonna come and kick my butt. No, I don't know about that, but he's gonna come and try.
Well, we love Stu, so hope you had a good birthday.
He's awesome. Happy birthday, big man. Way to go, Stu. Happy birthday.
All right, let's get to that Q&A here on a Friday on the eye test. What do we got? Randy Workman. I don't mind the money on the Blackwood contract, but I am kind of worried about the term. Am I wrong? It's a good point, Randy. I mean, the money.
He's 28, I think, right, Jimmy? Just off the top of my head. Is he 28, Jimmy?
28. I'm going to double check that right now.
Yeah, so I don't have a problem with that. I don't think it's that big a deal on the term.
Let's see.
He's an NHL goalie.
He is 28. Right?
28. So I don't have a problem with the term.
All right. Next question. Alex Ivanowski, I have to ask, what did you think of Patrick Laine's comments this past Monday on his time in Columbus? That's right. That happened after we got off the air, and then we didn't really touch on it yesterday. Also, what did you think of Werenski's response? I said to Pierre right away, I said that's bulletin board material. Why would he do that? But on the flip side, I don't know. I don't understand why I say it, but Patrick Laine is one of these guys, and I'll give him credit because as a reporter, I love it. He's straightforward. He's honest. He doesn't pull punches. He says what he thinks, but sometimes you got to just bite your tongue, in my opinion.
You're going to get a house divided. You're going to get all the people on Laine's side, and you're going to get all the people that think what Werenski said was sticking up for his team as being one of the leaders. Who knows what happened between both of them when Laine was in Columbus? We don't know. I don't know. I never saw them interact. So I don't know where that comes from. I feel bad. Here, I just want to talk about this athletically. I think Zach Werenski is one of the best defensemen in the league that very few people talk about. And his playing has been exceptional this year. He's been an exceptional leader and a good player. I think he was sticking up for his city, for his teammates, and for ownership. I do. That's just how Patrick, on the other hand, I don't have a problem with what he said. I don't, because he's got to go out there and back it up on the ice. And if that makes him feel better because of what he's going through, I don't have a problem with that either. Like, I think my big thing in all this stuff, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I'm not going to point my finger at you if you go the other way, Jimmy. I never have. You can tell everybody.
No.
When I don't agree with something, I just say, Jimmy, I don't agree with you. But I'm not going to yell and scream at you.
No. And by the way, too, I mean, technically what he said, he's not wrong. A lot of what he said is true, considering his evaluation of the organization the last few years while he was there. It wasn't factually wrong, but I get it. But you know what I loved, Pierre? And speaking of being like when they asked Matthew Olivier in the second intermission, are you guys targeting Patrick Laine out there because of his comments? No comment. Deadpan straight face. It was great.
That'd be the wrong guy to be targeting you because guy hits the hurt. He hits the hurt, man. He's a tough kid. Yeah. Yep.
All right. What do we got? Next question. Bill Van Vagel, what's the story why Beckett Sennecke didn't make Team Canada Juniors? I've heard a few things behind the scenes about a particular curfew miss, but I was blown away. He got caught. Any insight, Bill? I don't know at all.
I don't know any of that stuff, all the drama stuff behind the scenes. I don't know any of that stuff. I know he wasn't invited to the original camp. So I couldn't tell you. Couldn't. All I know is this. Can's got a heck of a team.
Yeah.
It's no crime to be cut from that team. They got a heck of a team. Yeah, they really do. They got a good team.
He'll recover from that. All right. Next question. Marco Larabia. What's up, Marco? Right move for Habs to call up Dobes. Wasn't my first choice, as long as they don't sit him for long stretches or he's not getting shelled. I like it. I think he's been pretty good. I think he earned it.
Yeah, no, it's a good opportunity for him to get a taste. Gets out of the other thing too. Nobody wants to talk about this. Gets out of the cold weather. I'm not kidding you. He goes to Florida, he goes to Tampa, goes to Vegas. There's something to that, Jimmy. I think Montreal's entire management team wants that team in Laval to run for a long time. And you got to make sure your guys are healthy. And a little thing like this, flying first class, staying at some really nice places, being in the sun a little bit. There's, time off. I think it's actually inappropriate. I know people aren't going to look at it that way, but I'm just telling you some of the thought process that goes into that.
Yep.
It involves that. It does. It involves that.
And speaking of that schedule that Pierre referenced, Pierre and I were looking at that the other day and talk about switching all over time zones. They're in Florida tomorrow and then again on Sunday. Then they head to Vegas. So they go from East to Pacific. They play in Vegas, a matinee there, New Year's Eve day. And then they're back in the Central time zone on the next Friday, playing the Blackhawks. And then they go back to Colorado time zone and play Colorado. Yep. Yikes. That's a tough travel.
It is, but it also it's not as draconian as it could be because of the way they travel. And if you're the backup goalie, all you're doing is you're taking shots. And I think he'll get one of those games unless Montembeault just completely, does something terrible. But I don't think he's going to get all of it. In fact, I don't think he'll get more than one game. He might get one.
He'd probably get, I would think, the Blackhawks that Friday. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see on that one.
Maybe Sunday because of back-to-back.
You could get the Sunday game.
Yep, that's right. All right, next question. Randy Workman, how many points away does a team have to be in a playoff spot to be a buyer instead of a seller? For example, the Blues Sens Flames. Yeah, Randy, great question.
Great
and
question.
I think this is something that I think ever since the salary cap came in too, and you have more of this parity, this is an issue for general managers, man. There's a lot of GMs that find themselves in that spot.
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's well phrased too. So I would say 5 to 7. If you get to, let's just say for this season, you get to that Four Nations event and you're double-digit points out. I always use the All-Star break. So if you get to the All-Star break and you're double-digit points out, you're not making the playoffs. Only 2 teams have done it since the salary cap went in. So it's a pretty steadfast number. If you're 5 to 7 out when we get to the Four Nations, I think you got a shot. But if you're more than that, I don't think you got a shot.
I'm with you on that. It's hard, though, for some GMs to admit that, depending on the markets you're in.
Well, that's when the ownership has to say,
cut bait.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, next question. WK, do you think the Habs are going to lose Primeau for nothing?
They could.
No, they could. I believe he passes.
I'd be surprised unless somebody really knows his body of work and has faith in him. You got to remember, if you take that player, you're taking an NHL contract, so you better have cap space. You're taking a player off waivers. You're not trading anybody to get him. So just think about that.
All right, next question. Bill Van Vagel, what is the skill level of top CIS teams compared to the NCAA? Do NHL scouts evaluate late bloomer CIS players? Pierre?
They do. They actually do evaluate late bloomer CIS players. Derek Ryan is one of them, playing for the Edmonton Oilers. I coached the kid Mike Tomlak out of Western Ontario, who is a tremendous player and a really good face-off guy. So the answer is yes. Mike Ridley was a tremendous player back in the day, a CIS player. So there are some players that actually are scouted to play. Jimmy Corsi was a CIS player. You know, the Corsi for analytics, he was a CIS player. So the answer is yes. Now, if you were to say compare it, most CIS teams that come down to the States and play, whether they play Dakota or they play Cornell or they play St. Lawrence or they play Colgate or they play all those, border teams, they don't do very well.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be harder for the CIS teams now because major junior players used to populate their rosters. Those major junior players are going to come down to the States now.
Yep, for sure. All right, next question. Postnet 130. New Year's Eve game, December 31st, 1975, Habs versus the Red Army to a 3-3 tie. World Junior Canada U.S. game, New Year's Eve 2024, 7:30 p.m.
Oh, he missed one. He missed one. New Year's Eve,
2009.
2008 going into 2009 USA Canada, John Tavares show. It was unbelievable. That was Pat Quinn at his finest. He took charge of that game as a coach. I broadcast that game. The 75 game, the 3-3 tie, it's maybe one of the worst, and Ken Drynes admitted it, probably one of the worst games he played as a goalie. Mm-hmm. Wally Harris, my late good friend Wally Harris, a legendary referee, worked that game. So I got a lot of really good thoughts on that. I was a kid. I was 14 years old. I watched that game, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And so, no, this USA-Canada game will be good, but the 1-09 was really special. It was really, really special.
All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, if Schaefer and Hagens continue their great World Junior play, do you think draft experts and yourself might change your mind on how good this draft class can be? Also, do you see Jack Hughes in Hagens?
No, I don't see Jack Hughes in Hagens. Hagens is a good player. Jack Hughes was at a whole other level. Ryan Leonard and Perreault are phenomenal players that play with Hagens. They're phenomenal. Look at my kid plays against them, so I got a little inside info. Those kids are really good players, and it helps Hagens a lot. Hagens, don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but he's not Jack Hughes. He's a really good player. In terms of us, you know what we've said about this draft? So please, it's important that you hear us. The top end of the draft is good. It's the depth of the draft. It's not that it's a bad draft. It's just there's not a lot of depth in this draft. That's what we've said. We have not said it's a bad draft. We said it's the depth is not there in this draft.
Yep. All right. Next question. Brandon Parker. Pierre, what do you see as Bergqvist?
Defenseman for Sweden.
Thanks, always.
7th round pick. He's going to be a kid that has to work to get there. He's got good size. I know everybody's, marveling at his shot yesterday in the Swedish game. He got the first goal of the tournament. He's a good player. I mean, it's just right now I can tell you one thing. Plays in a tremendous program in Skellefteå. It's in a phenomenal program. It really is. And anytime you get a player out of there, they really know how to play defense. They're tough. They're not little softies. They're tough.
All right. Next question. Jason Logan, do you think more Canadians are moving to USHL in college and staying and trying to make their junior league there? I find the junior here is not as good as it used to be, and other countries are catching up.
So good question, Jason, and thanks for your thoughts over the Christmas holidays. I really appreciate hearing from you. I look forward to seeing you soon when I'm with Jimmy in Montreal. So here's what I'd say. Most of the Canadian junior players are starting at 15 and 16, most of them 16 in major junior hockey, and then they're going to play 2 to 3 years, and they're either going to go right to the NHL as 18 or 19-year-olds, or they're going to leave, and they're going to go play college hockey. That's how I see it playing out. I could be wrong, but I can tell you a lot of college coaches have been in touch, and they're taking kids. They're committing a lot of kids from major junior hockey.
Yep. It's happening fast and furious.
It's happening really fast. That's all I can tell you. And I get a lot of calls, and it's happening really fast.
All right, next question. Ron LaRoque, is Lane Hutson not a breath of fresh air for this league? When cameras pinning on him while he's on the bench, he's just so wide-eyed and ready to learn. Always a smile, too. Just happy to be there. I noticed that, too, Ron. Great observation by you. Yeah, he's great.
We really think the world of that player. We have for a long time, all of us, but you kind of knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It's not to be negative towards the doubters, but there were a lot of people doubting him, and you're looking at two guys that weren't doubting him. No. We did not doubt him.
And it is true, too. I love how much he enjoys the game out there.
Yeah, I love it. I just think it's great. It's highly addictive to watch him.
Next question. Randy Workman, who would have figured the Flames could be in a meaningful game in February?
I agree. We agree. We agree 100%.
Hard-working team.
Part of that is their work habits. Jimmy, good for you for saying. The other part is Ryan Huska. Ryan Huska's done a good job. And Rasmus Andersson is a lot like Zach Werenski. He's one of those defensemen that unless you're in that marketplace, you don't know how good he is. You just don't. You don't know how good he is. He's really
That's
good.
An interesting one. Craig Conroy is going to have a big decision to make soon when it comes to that. So that's going to be interesting how that unfolds. I would keep him personally.
Yeah, I think so too. But We're not paying. He has
Yep.
to.
Yeah, we're not him. We're not the owner. So, next question. Hockey Puck. Hey guys, what about Doby's role and how will he come out for the Habs?
He's getting an opportunity.
Yeah, he's going to have a good opportunity. He'll get a start.
Yeah, that's all you can do. I mean, if you're expecting him to be Ken Dryden being called up, by the Canadiens back in 1970, 71, no, he's not doing that.
No,
he's not.
No.
But do you expect him to come up and do good things? Yeah, I do. I've watched him play a fair bit down in Laval. I think he's a really good goalie.
Yep. All right, next question. Bill Van Vagel, for both of you, who was the greatest junior college player you ever saw who never played a game in the NHL, be it because of injury, choosing Europe, taking the CIAU route, or joining the WHA? I don't know. I'd have to think about that one, Bill. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to take a flyer on a rain check. I'll get back to you on it, though. But that's a great question. Pierre would know.
I'm going through all the years. Like, come on, I don't want to just throw a guy out there. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I'll think. Let me think. I'm ready to write this down. I'm going to get that one.
I'm going to do it too.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. We'll have an answer on Monday.
Remind us, Bill. Okay.
No, remind us. But I'm going to do some research here today. From the ones I've seen. I can't go to I wish I could go back to the 1960s and say it, but I wasn't watching it, so I don't know.
Yeah, Randy Workman says, what about Pavel Brendel?
No, he played in the NHL.
I was going to say, he made it. Yeah,
the only reason he's asking is because Pavel Brendel played for the Calgary Hitmen. They went to the Memorial Cup. See, don't play this game with me, Randy. Went to the Memorial Cup in 1999, and they lost to the Ottawa 67s, coached by Brian Kilray. And the best player for Ottawa in that game was Brian Campbell, who was a Stanley Cup winner. Trust me, I called the games. A Stanley Cup winner with Chicago, originally drafted by Buffalo. Randy, let's not play that game.
Randy's the best, though. We love him. All right. That's it, actually, Pierre, for the questions.
I love the fact you bring up Pavel Brendel.
That's a name from the past, huh?
That's good.
That's a blast from the past.
You know who the best player was in that Calgary Hitmen team?
No.
Brad Stewart.
Oh, wow.
Involved in one of the biggest Bruins trade ever.
That's right. The Joe Thornton trade.
He was. He was a heck of a defenseman. He was really good.
I liked him.
Really good.
It just stunk for him.
More questions, Jimmy. You're bailing on the question.
2 more if I want. I was told no more.
Go.
All right. There we go. Let's go. What do we got? Brad K. Thoughts on Devils Arena staff trolling the Rangers fans? They played a clip from MSG while the Devils selected Jack Hughes with the crowd cheering, so New York could select Kakko. Yeah, that was a good troll job by the Devils there. I get it. Part of me is sort of old school sometimes, and I was like, that was not so classy. But at the same time, it's a different generation now. I know a lot of veteran hockey scribes are really ticked off about that, like New York Rangers writers. Like that, it was no class. They basically what they did, Pierre, was they showed a picture.
I know what they did. Don't worry. Yeah. So I get it.
I kind of like it. That's a good rivalry right now. That's a really good rivalry. They're having fun. They're chirping their rival.
See, I know you know all the social media stuff, so I'm going to challenge you to go look at it. In 2005, 2006, there was a kid coming in the league. He wore number 87 for Pittsburgh. His name was Sidney Crosby. Mm-hmm. And there was another kid that actually went to Shattuck St. Mary's and left Shattuck St. Mary's to play University of North Dakota. He was drafted by New Jersey. His name's Zach Parisi. So when they show, and his dad ran Shattuck St. Mary's, the late J.P. Parisi. He was running their hockey team. So what the Devils fans were doing, when Sid came on the ice, and Zach had a great game, and Sid probably didn't. He was 18 years old. Zach's a couple years older. And they're going, Zach is better. And the whole game, it was just like crazy, So I get it. They've done it before. It's not like it's the first time that I can't put all those scribes, by the way, and a lot of them are old enough to have been there. I can't believe none of them brought that up.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I'm sitting there and I'm going, do they not remember when they ripped on Crosby with Zach Parisi?
And by the way, did he not have a chant that's been there for like 40-something years, Pierre? Potvin sucks.
Well, that's with the That's the Rangers.
Yeah,
that's the Rangers.
The Rangers have that, but who are they to talk? They do their own chirping too. So
it's okay. It's okay. You know what? That whole tri-state area, we need the Islanders to be good. We need the Rangers to be good. We need the Devils to be good. And you know what else? They need the Flyers to be good.
Yep.
And the reason why I'm saying this selfishly, because when all four of those teams are good, that makes the Metro amazingly good, and it brings up TV ratings and actually makes people want to watch games.
Yeah.
Because we're such a territorial league. Nobody wants to watch the other teams play.
Yeah.
But if all those teams are good and they're vicious and they're mean, everybody wants to watch it. We need those teams to be good, not bad.
We want that back. All right. Next, we got one more.
Keep coming. We're good.
3 more asses. Okay. Ducks should trade Zegras. Do you agree?
Well, he's hurt right now.
Yeah, it's going to be hard right now. I think they've explored it. I think. I'm not saying that's fact.
I can't say that, but I know that I was asked about it, and I said I didn't think he would be a fit in certain places. That's all I said.
Yeah. So, but because he's hurt, that's probably not going to happen now. What else? We got any more? We'll take more. Hockey puck gents. Did you hear about Evan's possible trade with Vegas for a 6'4" centerman? No. I have not. I have not. Hockey puck. Sorry. And but let's talk about Evans again. And we said this before. I don't think they're trading him, Pierre. I think they end up keeping him and signing him.
It only comes down to the agent and Ken Hughes.
Yep.
I think athletically it's a perfect fit, but it comes. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do the deal. You can do it. We're going to go short with you 2 years and we'll pay you a little more than market rate. Okay. Because we know it's only 2. Or we pay you a little less than market rate or where we think you fit on a comparable, but we'll give you 4 years or 5 years. It comes down to, does the agent and the kid want that or do they not want that? So that's going to be the tough one going forward, how they do the deal. But it can go a lot of different ways. It just comes down to how creative both sides want to be. But that's going to come down to a money thing versus a term thing. That's what I think.
And what about, too, the player looking at it, too? I think, Pierre, more and more we're starting to see players look at fit as well. I mean, obviously it's always going to be
a perfect fit in Montreal. By the time it's a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit in Montreal.
We'll see what happens. Any more? What do we got? No. Going once, going twice. On to the weekend we go. On to more World Juniors, by the way. 2-1 Finland right now.
Oh, that's tighter than I thought it would be.
Yeah, that's a tight game. Good defensive game there. And then, of course, like we said, you've got Sweden and Kazakhstan in the next game, and then Latvia and Canada close it out. Pierre, we'll have plenty to talk about on Monday. I'm looking forward to it. I've got my some feelers out for some big guests to start the week, so I will keep you posted, and we shall see on Monday if that happens. And by the way, want to remind everybody, too, it's less than a month out. I will be down in Connecticut at Sacred Heart University on January 24th for the CT Ice Tournament in honor of Jason Pagnay, former Connecticut hockey coach who tragically passed away years back. And it will be the 4 D1 schools based in Connecticut will be playing there. So looking forward to that. Pierre, you have a great weekend. Enjoy the hockey.
In Hanover, New Hampshire for the Ledyard Classic.
On
my way there tomorrow morning, bright and early. So if you're a customs officer, I'm not doing anything wrong. I have nothing to declare.
You're going to have to bring him a gift now.
I have nothing to declare.
Tell them I say hello, and I'll see them in February.
Yes, you will see them a lot in February. When you're at the Classic down at Sacred Heart, by the way, which is a magnificent rink. Wait till you see it. It's really special. I will be doing that from your alma mater. I'll be working a game on TV from your alma mater. So
yeah, we will have you on remotely from there. Looking forward to that. We're hearing there's going to be potentially some good former players will be joining me in person there. So it'll be a good time at CT Ice. But until Monday, this has been another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.